Hello again. This is James Byrne. I'm going to share another episode with you on why I believe Joseph Smith practiced monogamy. He is had nothing to do with polygamy except rather to condemn it and even excommunicate members of the church to even practice it. That we'll go into in future episodes. But for now, want to share with you something regarding the need for records. And let me get this document up here to share with you. Um, the the point here I want to point out is that if Joseph Smith was married to other women, there would be needful of records kept, even if it was secret polygamous relations with them of anything, there would be need for a record. Let's first establish the scriptural basis of this comment of mine. Doctrine and Covenants 127 verse 6. Let there be a recorder and let him be eyewitness of your baptisms. Let him hear with his ears that he may testify of a truth. Whether it be a baptism, a marriage, we need a witness. Doctrine and Covenants 127 verse 7. That in your recordings it may be recorded in heaven. Bind on earth may be bound in heaven. DC 128 verse 7. Books spoken of must be books which contain the records of their works, and which refer to the records which are kept on the earth. And the book which was the book of life is the record which is kept in heaven. Doctrine and Covenants 128 verse 8, that whatsoever you bind on earth may be bound in heaven. Or in other words, whatsoever you record on earth may be recorded in heaven. Or whatsoever you do not record on earth may not be recorded in heaven. God's power to bind on earth and in heaven consists in the records. That which is recorded on earth is recorded in heaven. Doctrine and Covenants 128 verse 9, a power which records or binds on earth and binds in heaven. Records or binding are synonymous. Doctrine and Covenants 128 verse 9, those men did in authority in the name of the Lord, and did it truly and faithfully, and kept a proper and faithful record of the same, it became a law on earth and in heaven. So this is the sealing, binding power through the priesthood, the specific legal, lawful priesthood authority to record them. So we see then that Joseph was reveals that the sealing power and need of records to be made on earth as it is in heaven. There are no sealing records of Joseph to other women while he lived in Nauvoo. There has to be records to have this binding, sealing power. Historians Michelle Stone, Brian Hales, and Todd Compton confirmed there is no sealing records of Joseph Smith at two family history centers in Salt Lake. There is also no sealing records of Hiram Smith to other women other than his legal wife while he is alive. Any polygamous marriages Joseph and Hiram was uh, performed after their death when the church moved to Utah. So if, as mentioned there in Doctrine and Covenants 128, there was a need for records, and Joseph Smith knew the need for records of marriages, baptisms for the dead and the living to be recorded and bound on earth and in heaven. He would have known the need to marry um, or to record these other alleged ma marriages. That if he was polygamous, he would have had to record all of those polygamous relations um, in some way or form. Some say they were for eternity only or for time only, whatever it was, they would have had to been recorded. And if Joseph Smith having that power, which he did, why was it left up to church leaders after Joseph Smith was dead and gone to perform those sealings? Because let's look at it. The sealing records to other women appeared about 25 years later when the church itself in Utah as proxy sealings. It is illogical to think that work would need to be done for Joseph Smith after he was dead, considering he restored and revealed these ordinances. If Joseph believed in polygamy, he would need to keep the records, even if it was secret. So we have the only recorded legal lawful marriage Joseph Smith is recorded is Emma Hale, who became his legal lawful wife. Let's see what happened and what was so significant that 25 years later happened. That this suddenly in 1869 that these affidavits suddenly started to appear. Uh, well, what happened was the the sons of Joseph and Emma came over to visited Utah in the 1860s, late 1860s, and amongst the meetings they held with the members of the church there, they affirmed that their father, Joseph, had nothing to do with um, marrying other women. He had nothing to do with polygamy. And he, as a boy, up to Joseph Smith's death, would have had no knowledge of any other women, or never would have seen any such thing. So Joseph F. Smith, around this time, 1869, he makes the comment, when the subject first came before my mind, which is polygamy of Joseph Smith, I must say I was astonished at the scarcity of evidence. I might say almost total absence of direct evidence upon the subject. as connected with Joseph, Prophet Joseph himself. There was nothing written. Now, this was said by Joseph F. Smith to Orson Pratt, 19th of July, 1875. So, what did Joseph F. Smith do? He came up with the book of affidavits that he started collecting. And a lot of these affidavits, we can see that there's something not right. They're suspect, and it's almost something was being made up. Because look at one of these examples of an undated, unsigned affidavit. Here we have it, Territory of Utah. Be it remembered that on this blank day of blank 1869, personally appearing before me and James Jack and the notary public in and for the said county, uh, that Sylvia Lyon, who was by me sworn in due form of law, and upon her oath says that on the 8th day of February 1842, in the city of Nauvoo, county of Hancock, state of Illinois, she was married or sealed to President Joseph Smith by and in the presence of blank. I mean, it's like a template, box standard, uh, um, affidavit with without dates, without signatures, things being just made up. But on the other hand, the RLDS, the Reorganized Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saint Church, produced numerous affidavits from persons during the 1880s and 1890s affirming that polygamy had never existed in our view, that Joseph Smith knew nothing of its advent in the church, and that it was wholly the invention of Brigham Young in Utah. Both churches had created literally hundreds of pages of published and manuscript materials in defense of their respective points of view. And we'll go into further episodes about these documents, these undated and unsigned documents, and why some of the women even signed them. Would have been under duress. They would have been cast out of their community. They wouldn't have been obeying their leaders, and we'll be discussing further on that. But the main point here is that you're understanding that Joseph Smith would have needed, if he practiced polygamy, he would need to make records, as it was done for proxy baptisms or proxy other ordinances for marriage. And if he revealed this, why didn't he make a note of it in his lifetime? And then all of this affidavits coming 25 years after his death. By the way, think back to the record of Joseph and Hiram's death, when the wake, which is when the family came in to have their last viewing of the bodies of Joseph and Emma, or Joseph and Hiram, that the members of the church, people in general who came to the funeral of Joseph and Hiram, and they passed by the bodies. There was no, if he had married all these wives, where were they? Only Emma came forward and was recognized as the wife of Joseph, and then Mary Fielding was the recognized wife that came forward for Hiram. There was no other women that turned up or even mentioned or acknowledged as the wives of uh, Joseph and Hiram. It was solely just Emma and me, Mary Fielding, the two wife, the wife of that was Joseph and Hiram's spouses before they died, and that was the known fact. So I'll uh, end this episode now, and thank you for listening. And I look forward to sharing another episode of my viewpoints why I believe polygamy was not of God. Polygamy was not practiced by Joseph Smith. That monogamy is the only way and the only way marriage was given of God, and that Joseph only practiced a monogamous relationship with his one wife, Emma. So thank you for listening. Bye for now.